Hello everyone, my name is Chipster, and when I'm not animating, I like to think about and talk about Power Rangers. So I want to start this video out with a bit of a disclaimer, since I'm a little nervous making my first of these kinds of videos in kind of a negative way. But I am a white brunette girl whose favorite Ranger color is pink. The two white brunette pink Ranger girls, yes, in these past 30 years of this franchise, there have only been two white brunette Pink Rangers, which is funny to think about. The two we have are my favorite characters in the franchise. So when Amelia was first revealed as Dino Fury Pink, I was actually really excited, not just because of this, but because the first bit of personality revealed about her was that she was a paranormal investigator who was into things like ghosts and aliens and trying to figure out those things. Basically a weirdo freak as a Pink Ranger. And I was super excited for this because this was a lot different, not just different in terms of what we've had for Pink Rangers, but different in terms of what we've had for female Rangers in general. And by the time the show ended, I was like, she was fine. I hope Fern gets Ranger powers soon. But now Amelia's been thrust into the center of attention, and for good reason. We're coming off the final batch of Dino Fury episodes, ones that majorly focused on her storyline, and now with the reveal that she would be taking Zeto's place as Red Ranger for the Cosmic Fury team. And with all of this, there was kind of an Amelia renaissance in the fandom. Like with people praising her for being such a well-written and developed character, claiming that Dino Fury was really her story, and that her becoming leader was a natural progression that we all should have seen coming. Which, honestly, just made me go, really? Where? What Amelia are we talking about? What Dino Fury were we all watching? So, for this video, I'll just be talking about why a character that seemed scientifically formulated to appeal to me ultimately fell flat in the end, and why her being handed this newfound position of power both in and out of universe fills me with general apathy rather than excitement. The full implications of a white character taking a black one's spot as Red and leader is something that deserves its own discussion, including ones that have already been made, so I won't be going into that here, though I will provide a link to a video by the Disney Brain on the subject, which you can find the link of in the description. So basically that whole spiel at the beginning was me saying I'm allowed to talk about Amelia like this because she's my white brunette sister, even when she's cringe fail. So let's talk about Amelia. Amelia first appears in Dino Fury as the main POV character of the pilot episode, with the show immediately establishing key points of her character, such as her interest in the paranormal and her job at Buzz Blast, before she goes to Dinohenge, and, along with future love interest Ollie, gets involved in Void Knight's break-in of the base, which leads to Zeto waking up and them becoming Rangers. To me, the pilot was where she shined the most as a character, as it's the best example of the show actually taking what makes her unique and applying that to the actual story. She establishes herself as a good worker for Buzz Blast, completing her assignments early and having a good relationship with her boss, but she also bends the rules to do stories she wants and lies so she can trespass on private property. Season 1, Episode 1 Amelia would commit tax fraud, and I think that's just great. This allows her to meet Ollie in a legitimately cute and funny way, which has grown more on me over the past few months, as in hindsight, it's the only time Amelia was allowed to physically attack him. It's a double-edged sword in that she's the perfect kind of character to introduce us, the audience, and Zeto, the temporal fish out of water, to the world of Dino Fury. But once she fulfills that purpose, she kind of fades into a secondary role for the rest of the first season, and a majority of the second, until plots like her romance with Ollie and the mystery of her parents start to kick in. Also, for what it's worth, I am well aware that Dino Fury was originally supposed to only be one season's worth of television, so only 22 episodes, and then they were asked to add on an additional second season. So there's a lot more filler than they originally intended. I know there's a lot that this season was held back from because of mandates such as that, so I do try not to be too harsh, but I also want to judge based on what we got and not based on behind the scenes stuff, because ultimately what matters is what we got on screen in the end. So anyway, she does have focus episodes, but all of them reduce her importance in order to develop her adopted father Pop Pop and showcase his impact on her life, from the implication that he fuels some of her beliefs in the paranormal, and him being the one to first reveal to the audience the mystery of Amelia's lost parents. The latter being an extremely confusing route to take with it, in my opinion. Rather than introduce it in a way that clues to her friends as to what's up with her, he unknowingly tells it to Amelia herself. It's a whole thing where, like, he's in the mansion and she's morphed and has to go back to the mansion to find a thing, and he vents his entire situation to the Pink Ranger, to what he thinks is just a random stranger, and it's funny in a way, but also kind of weird. And as such, Amelia's development ends up amounting to her needing to learn to appreciate Pop Pop in some way, which will be extremely ironic later on when we get to the meat of the whole parent storyline, where Pop Pop is basically a means to an end to Amelia finding her quote-unquote real parents, to the point of Amelia yelling him to hurry up and stop dying when he's on the operating table. It's crazy. The bulk of her characterization comes from the tendency to bend the rules or go behind people's backs to get what she wants, which at least stays consistent even if it never leads to anything substantial in season 1. Whenever that's not relevant to the plot of the episode, she's just kind of the typical nice girl Pink Ranger who makes faces at Ollie sometimes. Honestly, the only time we really see her engage in conflict or get really mad is when she gets, like, super aggressive with Zato upon learning he was the one to approve of Rafkan using the Sporex, which may be a weird form of meta-foreshadowing if you squint. Otherwise, like, what about Amelia would make her act so viscerally about it? I don't know why it's not like she was super invested in the fate of Rafkan or Zato's role in it or anything. It just kind of seemed like she got past the ball of be angry in that episode, which is a problem with Dino Fury and, well, a problem with the Hasbro seasons, like, in general. And a quick hop back to the whole Ollie-Amelia thing. Ollie and Amelia's romance is something that honestly deserved a video in of itself, but something I do think is relevant is how, once again, this is an element of Amelia's storyline that honestly sidelines her own character while developing someone else. From the beginning, the Ollie-Amelia relationship is very obviously trying to emulate the Mulder-Scully, BuzzFeed Unsolved dynamic of the skeptic and the believer, where both sides learn from each other. But since Ollie obviously develops from the relationship into realizing what a jerk he's been and works to be more open-minded, Amelia doesn't gain any sort of development from this, or really gain any sort of story from this the way Ollie does. She doesn't learn, like, the inverse lesson of Ollie, like to ground herself to reality, or even really learn to stick up for herself. It's just something that she's a part of and witnesses or lets happen until some other random character tells Ollie he's being a jerk, until suddenly she has feelings for him too and they hook up. She doesn't even really yell at Ollie for his continued disdain for her passions. While there are scenes where she gets mad at him or wants to one-up him in their little conflict, they never really lead to any emotionally cathartic climaxes that significantly develop their bond or anything. The scenes meant to significantly shift their relationship all come after Ollie's development, which seems like a waste. And really, that's the most disappointing part of the whole thing. Amelia was initially promised to be something that we had never gotten before in Power Rangers, a weird girl. We hadn't even really gotten a paranormal investigator before. Noah from Megaforce had an interest in the subject, but that was more of a fun fact about his character compared to how it's supposed to be basically Amelia's purpose in life. And making it her whole life could have had the potential to give us a female character who was honestly super weird, who had autistic swag, who hyperfixated on the paranormal to the point where she rejected reality because it simply didn't interest her, who maybe had to learn to stop living in her beloved fantasy once in a while, accept that reality couldn't always be a fun adventure, and yeah, I'm basically just describing Marcy Wu from Amphibia. But that's okay because, again, that's a character we've never seen on Power Rangers, especially not a female version. Instead, the Amelia we do get comes off almost generic because her interest in the paranormal doesn't really amount to anything in the series proper, besides fueling a lesson of the day, and we don't get an indication of who she is whenever she's not doing stories for BuzzBlast or recording podcasts about the Loch Ness Monster. There's something to be said about Izzy not having much of a storyline throughout the season either, but all of her focus episodes at least involved her needing to learn something, and we have a better indication of who she is and what her life is like whenever she's not doing sports. And this skin-deep characterization for her particularly starts to fall apart when we learn why she loves the mysteries of the paranormal. She believes that in solving these mysteries, she'll be able to find out what happened to her parents. She says, quote, "It's what pulls me towards investigating other mysteries too. I've always thought that in solving them, I'd find a clue that led me to my parents." This never happens in the series. Besides the fact that this explanation really makes no sense in the context of the show, if Amelia was into mysteries because she was looking for her parents, then what purpose does proving the existence of Bigfoot or ghosts serve? Why wasn't she specifically trying to research, alien abductions? Why wasn't she obsessed with true crime podcasts? Anything that would actually point towards missing people. Did she hope, her spook snare would capture the ghosts of her parents? Did she believe in psychics because one told her her parents were still out there? We don't know, because for some reason the show seemed to care more about hiding the mystery of her parents over actually threading the needle of the two elements. The twist actually does start to get reasonably foreshadowed in Season 2, in admittedly little ways, like her enjoying Rafconian treats rather than, say, anything substantial with Void Knight, as we'll discuss in a minute. But this is after a whole season where nothing about her actions or dialogue implied that she had such a deep and personal connection to her paranormal studies. It just kind of comes off as a hobby that she loves, but not enough to tell the guy who constantly brings it down, therefore unknowingly shutting down hope of finding her parents, to back off. This also shows in how little she gets with Void Knight in general. Void Knight, who the big twist is revealed to be her father, and Santora/Void Queen, her mother. The easiest comparison is to Nick and Korag from Mystic Force. On paper, Nick and Amelia have a very similar storyline. Two adopted kids that unknowingly face their long-lost evil Purple Knight father in a battle week after week, ultimately leading to an emotional reveal that spurs Purple Knight Dad's change of heart. But the main difference between them is Korag and Nick's relationship. That is established long before the emotional reveal. They're each other's main rival on the battlefield to a point of some weird mental link. Amelia and Void Knight never have anything like that. They get a brief moment where they fight one-on-one in the finale, but narratively this is no different than Izzy destroying the machine he keeps his refrigerated wife in. When he rejects Void Queen to help the Rangers, Zato and Javi, who get the storyline about accepting him, she is absent from the conflict due to being stuck in Void Queen's robot. It's another whole thing. And admittedly, this makes sense for what's established about Zato and Javi's characters, but putting Amelia in either of their places at least would have offered a foundation for the later reveal of them being family. As such, there's really no intrigue to the Amelia Lost Parents storyline beyond the basic who are they, despite this one again being executed excellently in Mystic Force, with Nick finding out Korag's identity and struggling to accept the man who had been trying to kill him all season was really his father. The most likely unintended similarities between the stories of the seasons just makes you realize how much weaker the executions of Amelia's is. It just feels very unintentional or tacked on in a way Nick's was not. So rather than the narrative climax for her story arc being a result of character development or plot progression or whatever, what leads her to her parents are outside forces like her adopted father being a former worker of Area 62, giving her all the basic information she needs on what happened and where to go once the plot actually allows him to talk about it, and then her physical contact activated but not until the plot says so mind-reading antenna filling in the remaining blanks. She never actually investigates Area 62 on her own like she did Dino Henge in the pilot. She never takes initiative to actually figure these things out herself. She just kind of waltzes around looking for ghosts and Bigfoot until she gets told what to do and where to go. And then in the end, when she's not getting bailed out by the others coming to save her, it's really just the power of family magic curing evil, because the twist of Amelia's parents being the main villains who have been trying to kill them for 2 seasons simply happens too quickly for any real character exploration or development to happen. We had to make Void Knight and Void Queen influenced by evil Sporix magic in order to hand-wave the whole parents tried to kill them thing, even though Void Knight was very clearly and outright says multiple times in the first season that he intended to kill the Rangers. And his daughter being one of those Rangers, this implication is never really discussed or anything. We just have to ignore it because, well, it's the last season, and we have an unexpected epilogue season to work on, so let's move on. Amelia starts and ends the season with basically no change to who she is besides outside things like a boyfriend, parents, and now alien powers. And while this isn't relatively new to character writing in Power Rangers, Amelia is different because she had what a lot of Power Ranger characters don't have, a genuine story that influenced the plot of the season. But her character doesn't reflect that, not in the way other Dino Fury characters with stories did. So with all that, what does this mean for Cosmic Fury and Amelia's new promotion? You probably noticed I never talked about Amelia's leadership moments or anything, and that's simply because she didn't really have any. Besides the fact that throughout the entire length of the series, she's the only one who lets Ollie walk all over her, contrasting characters like Izzy or Javi who actually do get to fight back and call him out on his behavior. Her leadership only comes up in 2 specific episodes that don't really help her image. She prioritizes Buzz Blast over Rangerhood and indirectly sends 2 employees into danger, which, admittedly, a rookie leader needing to learn the ropes of how to lead is common in stories, Power Rangers in particular, but this requires a level of intention, of the writer specifically making this part of her storyline that culminates to something in the end, which it isn't. Her main storylines have to do with romance and family drama, and that's honestly fine. As I said before, it's more than what a lot of Power Rangers women get. But even then, it didn't feel like the pure amount of potential Amelia's story had was reached. The show drops this bombshell in her lap that she's an alien with a connection to huge tragedy in both her civilization's past and her own parents' past, but never gives her any time how to really parse the situation and what that means for her own identity. And what worries me about Amelia's new role in Cosmic Fury is that the novelty and girl bossitude of her being the first full-time 10-episode female Red Ranger with brown hair and a name that starts with A will overshadow the potential she had, and the potential that could have been properly explored with an additional 10 episodes dedicated to this team. And of course, Cosmic Fury could do this, but given how Dino Fury's finale ends on a 6-month time skip where she's happily using her new powers to read the mind of her baby sister, I don't have much faith in that. It could happen, but will it? And will they do it well? It's 2023. I think we can try and ask for more for our female characters than putting them in a red shirt and calling it a day. Anyway, feel free to fight me in the comments. I did not make this video intending to hate on Amelia or hate on you for liking Amelia and how she's written. This was just me venting my thoughts on how a character that I was super looking forward to just kind of missed the mark for me. And I am looking forward to Cosmic Fury and hopeful for any improvements that they might give her. I don't know how many more of these kinds of videos I will make. I would love to make more, and I do have several ideas, but I doubt the schedule for release will be very regular. So until then, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.